It's Mad Dog Merv. Welcome to Saturday morning, and I've got a little bit of time that I'm going to be building. Ooh, that was a good shot. It's my bug zapper, zapping these damn flies that are flying around out here. Probably not going to be able to do a whole lot of interaction, folks, simply for the fact that I'm building and not going to be looking real close at the screen. So, if you ask a question or say hi or whatever, it's not that I'm ignoring you. If I don't get to it now, I'll get to it here in a little bit. But anyway, this is just kind of one of those surprise, spur of the moment things I'm known to do. I'm doing some resin casting, and I thought it'd kind of be fun to show you, what I'm doing and why and how and all that kind of stuff. So I think we got the camera where we need to. I don't know. My gloves are falling apart and falling at me here. I like to wear an old shirt that if I spill any of this stuff on, it's not going to matter. Okay. And I need paper towel. So I've been working on I finally got some good Alumilite that I can use. Well, how good it is, I don't know, but I can use it at least. So I'm casting a bunch of the different things that I wanted to for these pirate ships. So that's what I'm going to take you on a journey with me this morning, is as I do a little bit more of the casting. So I thought, what's a pirate ship without some booty, some plunder, whatever you want to call it. So I went through my HO scale stuff, because HO is probably as close to this as I'm going to get. Yeah, so, and I could scratch build a bunch of stuff, but I'm not going to take that time. So I found these barrels and these boxes in HO scale that I had in some of my building things, and thought, well, let's put them next to one of the figures here. Here's one of our scale figures. I'll just try to stand him up there. And he's not standing up too well. Anyway, you get the idea. Figured it's gonna work out okay. And this is stuff I can scatter around the deck of these pirate ships, because pirate ships, depending on how big of the load they had, sometimes I guess it would throw them on the deck, I would imagine. So at least that's how it's going to be in my modeling world. So that's what we're going to do. This is a mold that I just made last night. I got to be careful with the original stuff because I need that for another project. So the pirate medallion, I'll show you some of the stuff I've been casting. This pirate medallion that came with the those Jolly Roger kits, the ones with the skeletons fighting and whatnot. The dogs found somebody to bark at. Rocco and Rocket, you two weirdos. I figure because yesterday was National Dog Day, they can go crazy today, I guess. Ooh, wow. Almost took part of my finger off there. Anyway, this was a skull, an extra skull that came in that kit. So I've resin cast some of those. Here's just an example of one of those. And the pirate medallion, which there's that. And you can see I've done some of the some of the, I call it deck scatter. And also there was this pirate pistol that came in that kit, and I've gone ahead and made a mold and resin cast it. So sorry Sorry, it's hard to hold that on the angle and show you, but you get the idea of what I've been doing there. So those are currently the things that I am casting. Now when I cast, I like to use these little cups, the measuring cups, and some kind of a stick, usually just the brush, and some kind of a pokey thing. Toothpicks are great, but I'm out of toothpicks currently, so I'm just using this piece of plastic. And then I like to have my molds ready to go. So last night I had done some casting, so here I need to empty this mold out. I like this flexible pink rubber, because usually the stuff I do has deep cuts in it or undercuts, and this is good for that. It's a high strength. Pop him out here. There we go. Our little skull. Okay, so there's that mold. This mold is empty, ready to go. Okay, I guess that's all oh yeah, my pirate medallion. That's empty and ready to go. What do I use for mold boxes? So I have a bunch of these little cups that are actually for the little kids, but we got a bunch of them, and sometimes they'll put them in places they shouldn't, or they'll put things in them they shouldn't, and that's the case in this one. So instead of just throwing it away, because no longer want to use it to put food in it, but it made a great place to put the medallion, of course, with some clay. Hey, morning, Brad. How are you? No, I already had coffee this morning. I did that a little bit earlier, so now I'm done with the coffee. I've gotten some time to build, and that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully I get plenty of time to build today, because it's been a busy week watching grandkids. It's been great and rewarding, don't get me wrong, but haven't had a lot of time out here. So anyway, so I'll put the clay down, and I'll set my piece in, and as you can see, this makes perfect size for the medallion. And then I just poured my stuff in, and there's my mold. The skull, you can see what that is. Just one of these. Quite often I'll use, let's find the right box. So for example, this one that I'm about to do right here, you can see it still has a little bit of the clay on it. I just used one of these that I got prisoner figures out of. So some of those smaller little prisoner figure cases I have saved, and was perfect for the pistol. So I don't have to always construct my own boxes. I try to to do things. I don't like to work. Work more than I have to, I should say, because you got to put in some effort on these things. But I'll just pull this, give you an idea here. Just pull all the excess off, and this little part here didn't quite form right, but that's okay. We'll turn this into a instead of something you can hang around your neck, it'll just be a little plaque. But I've got plans for these. That's why I'm casting so many of them. So let's get off to the casting part of it, shall we? Yeah, I've got a desk full of stuff, as I always do. So I'm going to start out with probably looking at this, looking at my gradient here. I'm going to start out with 5 milliliters of the catalyst, and then I'm going to put in 5 milliliters of the urethane casting resin to bring it up to the 10 line. Now this stuff is old. I got to get it used up. So I can tell it's, you know, not only changed color, but it's starting to coagulate and get chunky in the bottom. So I make sure I shake them up really good. Boy, something's got those dogs going this morning. Even the weenie dog. Now, this stuff does cook off pretty quick, so stir it up about 10 or 15 seconds. Make sure it's stirred up good. And I'm going to pour it first in the molds that have the most intricate or deep cuts, because I need to work it in to the, try to get the bubbles out. But I don't want to let this sit too long, because this stuff will cook off right here in this pot real quick. So, okay, we're going to put some in here. This is our deck scatter. I probably have enough to do the skull, so I'm going to do the skull. Well, it looks like I had enough to do the medallion too, but oh well. Don't quite have enough to finish the medallion. So we'll start the medallion. We'll do the lower pieces of the medallion here. And while that drains, I'm going to poke my mold here and see if I can get this stuff worked into all the areas. I don't want to wind up with something that's not completely formed. I hate that. Waste not, want not. As Barbosa would say, waste not, want not. Okay. I appreciate you joining this morning, Brad. It's nice to see you here. Well, I've never really shown folks exactly how I do this. I mean, we've talked about it. I've had a how-to video here or there on it, but I've never really sat down and just showed folks, here's how I do my casting. Yes, I should have another glove on. Part of being old and senile, you forget things. You see how quick this is cooked up? That's already done. I don't have any time to get air bubbles out, so hopefully there's no air bubbles. And the same with the skull. It's getting nice and solid. Uh-oh. Now on the medallion here, I'm going to add I always like to have kind of an extra mold laying around. I'll show you why here in a minute. If I wind up with extra material, I don't want to waste it. So I usually have one extra mold just kind of laying around that if I need to put some, instead of wasting the material, I can put it in, you know, something. And we'll see if I wind up with extra on this. So let's pour the rest of the medallion. Again, I use Alumilite because it's what's available here. I really like Hobby Silicones products, but it's expensive, relatively expensive because I can't get the smaller amounts I need. So it's, you know, a bigger investment financially up front, which sometimes I just don't have. Most of the time I don't have. And I'm lucky to scrape together $25 to get my Alumilite. Let's work on getting this, make sure that all of our voids are taken care of because we don't want to bubble. Last thing we want is an air bubble. Now, one thing I am going to do here, because it's not overflowing, is I'm going to kind of move this around in the mold so that I get all of the edges. I want to make sure I get all of these edges covered. Now this batch I didn't mix quite as hot, so it's going to take a few more minutes to set. So I got a little more working time with it. It's very finicky. If you don't mix it, there's a little window. There's perfect, and then there's close to perfect, and you got to get it in that window. If you don't, and it's a very fine line between close to perfect and you're going to have problems. When I say you're going to have problems, what happens is you wind up with too much, I think it's the resin, not the hardener, and you wind up with pieces that bend. And yeah, it's nice and white in color, and it looks just as good as this one that's hard as a rock, but it's going to stay soft pretty much and pliable forever. I can still use that piece, but the point being is, if you don't quite mix it right, yeah, you're going to wind up with something that's something that's soft and pliable. And this is starting to cook up here good, so I want to make sure I get it into that loop. It's still viable enough that I can move it around if there's a little place I need to add a little bit. Like I want to add some right here on the edge. No, I don't have a pressure pot. Never used one. I wish I had one, but I've never had one. Thought about making one a couple of different times, but never have. Yes, it would be wonderful to have. Again, it's, you know, an investment, and time and money. And at this point, if I have a bigger project that I really wanted to do a pressure pot with, I've got access to the one at KitLinks. But for these smaller projects, I just don't worry about it. Okay, so there, that's set up. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I'll clean this out with a paper towel while it's still wet. But what I found is once it starts getting gummy and hard, is then I can just grab it and just, it kind of skins right up. Now this is not quite hard enough yet, so we'll wait another couple minutes. These flies are driving me crazy. Don't know what happened here, but about 3 weeks ago or so, just all of a sudden, poof, the world turned into the land of the flies. It's like a freaking plague. All summer, we were doing pretty good without flies for once. Last year was horrible, but this year wasn't too bad until, you know, like I said, about 3 weeks ago. Now all of a sudden there's flies everywhere. They're in the house, and you know, out here I got my little bug zapper sitting right here. That's what that zap was earlier. It does attract them, and it does work good. I mean, this was one of those, you talk about Amazon purchases that, you know, you just kind of wonder. I mean, look at this. And there's a couple of flying, stinging things in there too. But yeah, so it works. It's one of those blue, you know, blue light things. You get in there and zap. I wish it would attract them right now instead of me. Guess I should have showered this week. Maybe I wouldn't attract them so much. Okay. I can actually demold this one now. It's still a little soft, but it'll come out of the mold just fine. And unfortunately, because I didn't poke down into the mold, you'll see there's a little bit of a little bit of an air bubble there. I can fill that with putty, or I can fill it with super glue, however I choose to. Hi, Rocco. Yeah, your ball's downstairs, buddy. We're not playing ball today. So when I did this mold here, this is the one this is the very first one I was telling you about. See how chunky looking that is? So when I poured it in the mold, I was pushing down on it with a hobby knife or stick or something, but because it set so quick, there were a couple of air voids, and this is one of them. This area right here, this is where there was an air void, and so when I pour this material in, I get this little mushroom cloud. So unfortunately with these, I have to clean them up a little bit. I could just recast it and it'd be fine, but you know, there's the trade-off. I can either recast it, take the time to recast it, or I can just live with it and repair it. So once they are out, we go ahead and I prime them, and I just use that Krylon 2X primer, either gray or red, whichever I need to. Let's see. This is still, no, this is coming up nice. So just, it's nice and sticky, and it just pulls up like a skin and leaves my cup nice and clean. And see, I pulled out, that's what I pulled out of there. Now I'll just wipe this out with, get rid of any of the residue. And my cup is ready to go again.
Yay for me!
Anyway, so I will clean up whatever I need to clean up. Like on the medallion, there was a couple little air bubbles. Darn it. And on these, of course, you saw the areas I had to clean up. Here's one I need to put a little drop of super glue. There was a little teeny air bubble in this. But overall, you know, the scatter turned out pretty good. Now, I'll go ahead and paint this with some Mission Models paint. Maybe even some primer, depending on the color. And we'll go from there as far as working these. This, I can do whatever color I want with now. If I want to do a gold medallion, if I want to actually paint this up, really cool. Doesn't matter, but you know, now I got, so far I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just since I made that mold yesterday afternoon. So kind of, you know, kind of fun. So we'll paint those next. Let's see. I've got some Mission Models. Oh, good. I got some tan primer, which will be good. And I've got some Radome tan. Mission Models. My additive, my hardening agent, whatever you want to call it. It's the urethane stuff that they use. I'm going to turn on the compressor real quick. Okay, we'll mix up some paint. So I can do some of these other operations while these things set, and then just, you know, basically rinse and repeat. Go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Now, I haven't used my airbrush in a couple of days. Yeah, I can tell. Gonna get out my lacquer thinner. See how I feel about it. Zap, there goes a fly. See how I feel about it. Now, if I don't like how it comes out clean, then I will take some carburetor cleaner. And that'll clean it out good. Yeah, I don't like how this is looking. Okay, so hang on 1 second while I grab my carburetor cleaner. It's right here. Thing is, I try to have pretty much everything within arm's reach, but I got so much stuff I can't get everything in arm's reach, so we'll just zip over here real quick and grab the carburetor cleaner wherever you are. Oh yeah, here we go. The gum out was on sale. So normally this right here, like I say, within arm's reach. Finley can now get to the lower stuff, so I don't put it down low. Okay, so yeah, I'm not where I want to be here, so. Carburetor cleaner in it. Ooh, they're wonderful. It's a good thing I spray outside. So, by the way, I got an open window right there, and I got this huge barn door right here behind the camera that's open. So I got lots of fresh air. That's why you hear the dogs bark and birds tweet and, you know, everything else, because I'm basically outside with just kind of a covered area with a couple walls. Which is why I can spray all sorts of really cool stuff out here, because, you know, I'm not indoors. I could never do this in the house. Wind up setting off a pilot light. Boom. That would ruin my day. Oh, I see Finley's been playing with the pressure. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a little bit more of a clean up here. I'm going to have to do some disassembly. How about that? You get to see that go on. Like I say, I haven't used the gun in a few days because I just haven't had the time to be out here. So, yeah, there's definitely something in there. That's the problem with shooting both acrylics and enamels through the same gun. Okay, my needle goes through just fine. So I don't have any bugaboos in there. Must be in my tip. Let's check out the tip. Why I really hate acrylics. Okay. You can't see it here, but I'm getting my tip pushed through here, getting all the little nasties out, because we're talking about a little microscopic opening there. Okay. All right. How does that look? That looks okay. More carburetor cleaner for Santa Claus. Okay. There we go. That was the ticket. Okay, now we're spraying. I'm going to turn it back on. So I have a holder, one of those two-prong holders. I've got a two-prong holder that's right here, so I can, put it down quick if it's full of paint or whatever. Harold, hush! He's deaf and dumb and blind. Barks for no reason. Okay. One last thing, I'm going to take a brush, an old nasty brush. I've got old nasty brushes here for all sorts of things. I'd never do this with a good brush, trust me. And make sure I get all that residue out. Still getting a little bit of crapola out of here. Okay. I think we're good to go. I'm going to mix up a little tan. Put in a little bit of hardener, a couple of drops of the whatever you call it, 2, 3, 4, the polyurethane. The polyurethane, that's what we call it. Some radome tan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do that. Now my tan primer. The reason I'm using some of this is, number one, to change the color, and number two, it's thicker. Definitely thicker. And then like 4 drops of the Mission Models. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do 5 drops. The Mission Models thinner, and the reason I use theirs is because I've not found another substitute that works well with Mission Models paint, so use their stuff. And mix this up really good in my cup. Sometimes I'll just mix it up in the spray gun, which is not mix it up. Okay. Now we're ready to spray. Let us spray. Okay, perfect. Oh, yeah. Turn the pressure down. Oh, Finny. I'm going to come back and pick some of the different boxes out and paint them a different color, but this gives it a good base, good wood looking base. Oh, I'm out of paint. I can't believe it. I didn't make enough paint up. You believe that? I can believe it, because I know how I am. The polyurethane gives it just a slight gloss, but it makes the paint harder and also more flexible. No, that's not me. That's my alerts on my phone. Just so you know, that's my alert tone. It's kind of fun, though, when you're in a crowd. People are like, oh my gosh, did this guy just rip one? No, it's my phone. My phone farts. Okay. Go. And there's the basic color all done. So now you can see from basically start to finish and the amount of time that it takes to do that. You know, how I do this resin casting. Like I say, I do multiple pieces at a time because it does take drying time. And once I get into a groove like this, I can turn out a lot of pieces in just a few hours. And I can have the ones that I started with painted, you know, before I finish doing the, you know, casting the last pieces of the day that I'm going to cast. So, kind of fun. I enjoy resin casting. Yes, I do. Clean out my cup here. Okay. I have a holder, one of those, I don't know, they call it spraying stations or something. You put it in, and it a cleaning station. That's it. You press the trigger, and it goes into this little bottle. But since I'm outside, I don't use my cleaning station as a cleaning station. I use it as a holder for my airbrush. And again, it's just sitting right here below the camera, so I've got the holder here for, like, if I'm right in the middle of spraying and I need to put it down quick. Ooh, these flies are driving me crazy. Give it a little shot of this. Let that sit in there. Make sure I clean out all the residue. I don't always clean the gun as good as I should. I know that. Tell you what, though, this Revolution CR, you know, I've had it since the Atlanta show, which was what, 2006, 2007. Never replaced any components on it. Okay, there's put it in its holder, unplug it from the air source. I don't need that leaking out. And clean out my paint cup here. Ah, finger marks. Okay. All right, folks. Well, I am going to continue on doing some other things today, and I know you guys have got stuff to do too, but thank you for joining me. Hopefully you found this interesting. You know, I do a lot of, I spend a lot of time building. Well, a lot of time. As much time as I can get, let's put it that way. And, you know, every once in a while I'll share it with you because, well, doesn't hurt to just hook up the camera and go, hey, let's show folks what we're doing today. So these deep cuts. See how this turned out. Aha, see, now here's this is my first pour in this mold. And yes, it took all of the rest of the the blue stuff, clay out with it, but the one piece on the end here turned out really good. But some of those supports I didn't get material pushed up in there, so I've got two that turned out good and two that didn't. Of course, my big ones there turned out good. So I'm going to clean these up and I'm going to repeat this process. So thanks for joining us. Hope you get something out of this. I'm going to continue on doing this stuff just so you can see this deck scatter before I go. Here on one of the pirate ships that I've been working on. See, I put a bunch of this stuff. Which got to have rum barrels. You know, just kind of in a place like that. You know, add a bunch of that. By the way, we are moving along. I'm gonna pull this out of the holder here, and I'm gonna show you guys. So I've got one of the ships there that is just kind of sitting for right now, but I've got it to that point. That's my fourth one. And then here is the El Lobo Del Mar. We'll have a video on that soon. The Emily is up there, and it's almost done. And here is the black onyx, and I'm still working on the masts, but it's nearing completion as well. So we're getting a lot done on those. All right, folks.